Welcome to part 2 of our environmental studies course. Today, we'll be diving deep into the fundamentals of ecosystems and biodiversity, two crucial aspects that help us understand how life on Earth functions and interconnects. Let's look at what we'll be covering in this module. Our journey will take us through several key topics, from understanding basic ecosystem concepts to exploring biodiversity. What exactly is an ecosystem? At its core, an ecosystem is a dynamic and complex web of life where living organisms interact with each other and their physical environment. Think of it as nature's intricate dance, where every participant, from the tiniest microbe to the largest tree, plays a vital role. These ecosystems can exist on various scales, from a vast forest stretching for miles to a small pond in your backyard. Each ecosystem, regardless of its size, contributes to maintaining ecological balance through essential processes like nutrient cycling, energy flow, and species interactions. The structure of an ecosystem can be broken down into two main components. First, we have the biotic components. These are all the living organisms, which include producers like plants and algae, consumers like herbivores and carnivores, and decomposers like fungi and bacteria. The second component is abiotic. These are the non-living elements such as sunlight, temperature, water, and minerals. Together, these components create a balanced system where life can thrive. In this visual representation, we can see how different components of an ecosystem interact. Notice how energy flows from the sun through producers to various levels of consumers. The diagram clearly shows the interdependence between biotic and abiotic factors, illustrating how each element plays a crucial role in maintaining the ecosystem's balance. Ecosystems operate through two primary functions: energy flow and nutrient cycling. Energy flow begins with sunlight, which producers capture through photosynthesis, creating food that moves up through the food chain. Equally important is nutrient cycling, where essential elements are continuously recycled between organisms and their environment. These functions aren't just academic concepts. They're vital processes that sustain life, regulate our climate, and provide the resources we all depend on. Ecosystems are broadly categorized into two main types: terrestrial and aquatic. Terrestrial ecosystems are land-based, including familiar environments like forests, deserts, and grasslands. Aquatic ecosystems are further divided into freshwater ecosystems, like rivers, lakes, and ponds, and marine ecosystems, which include oceans, coral reefs, and estuaries. Each of these ecosystem types hosts unique communities of organisms that have adapted to their specific environmental conditions. Let's examine the key players in an ecosystem. At the foundation, we have producers or autotrophs, like plants that create their own food through photosynthesis. Then we have consumers or heterotrophs, which include primary consumers, herbivores, secondary consumers, carnivores that eat herbivores, and tertiary consumers, carnivores that eat other carnivores. Finally, we have decomposers, the crucial cleanup crew that breaks down dead material and returns nutrients to the system. This diagram illustrates the intricate relationships between different functional components in an ecosystem. Notice how energy flows from producers through various levels of consumers, and how decomposers connect back to the producers, completing the cycle. This visual representation helps us understand the complex web of interactions that maintain ecosystem balance. Each type of ecosystem has its own unique characteristics and adaptations. Forest ecosystems are biodiversity hotspots, crucial for carbon storage. Desert ecosystems showcase remarkable adaptations to extreme temperatures and low precipitation. Grassland ecosystems support large herbivores and are characterized by a dry climate. Aquatic ecosystems, both marine and freshwater, feature distinct biodiversity and nutrient cycles adapted to their watery environments. Now, let's explore biogeochemical cycles, the natural processes that transport and transform essential elements through Earth's different systems. The carbon cycle is perhaps one of the most critical biogeochemical cycles, especially in today's context of climate change. This cycle moves carbon, the building block of life, through Earth's systems in a fascinating journey. It begins with photosynthesis, where plants absorb atmospheric CO2 to produce glucose. Through respiration, organisms release CO2 back into the atmosphere. Dead organisms decompose, releasing stored carbon into soil and air. Oceans play a crucial role by absorbing large amounts of CO2, while fossilization can trap carbon underground for millions of years. However, human activities, particularly the burning of fossil fuels, have significantly impacted this natural cycle. Looking at this diagram, we can trace carbon's journey through different Earth systems. Notice how carbon moves from the atmosphere through plants, animals, soil, and oceans. The arrows show both natural processes and human influences on the cycle. Understanding this visual representation helps us grasp how human activities can impact global carbon balance and, consequently, our climate. The nitrogen cycle is essential for life as nitrogen is a key component of proteins and DNA. While nitrogen is abundant in our atmosphere, it must be converted into biologically usable forms. This happens through several key steps: nitrogen fixation by specialized bacteria, nitrification by soil bacteria, assimilation by plants, ammonification by decomposers, and denitrification that returns nitrogen to the atmosphere. Each step is crucial for maintaining the availability of usable nitrogen in ecosystems. This diagram illustrates the complex pathways of nitrogen through the environment. Follow the arrows to see how nitrogen transforms from atmospheric N2 through various compounds and organisms. Pay special attention to the role of bacteria in converting nitrogen into forms that plants can use, and how this usable nitrogen then moves through the food web. The oxygen cycle is intimately connected to the carbon cycle and is vital for aerobic life. Through photosynthesis, plants and other producers release oxygen into the atmosphere. Animals and other organisms use this oxygen for respiration, producing CO2. In the upper atmosphere, oxygen forms ozone, creating a protective layer against harmful UV radiation. This cycle demonstrates the beautiful balance between producers and consumers in maintaining atmospheric oxygen levels. Here we can see the major pathways of oxygen through the biosphere. Notice how the cycle connects atmospheric oxygen with biological processes like photosynthesis and respiration. The diagram also shows the formation of ozone in the upper atmosphere, highlighting oxygen's crucial role in protecting life on Earth. The phosphorus cycle is unique among biogeochemical cycles because it lacks a significant atmospheric component. Phosphorus moves primarily through rocks, water, and living organisms. The cycle begins with weathering of phosphate rocks, followed by plant absorption of phosphates from soil. Animals obtain phosphorus through their diet, and decomposition returns it to the soil. Over time, phosphorus can become trapped in deep ocean sediments, making it a limiting nutrient in many ecosystems. This illustration shows how phosphorus moves through the environment. Follow the arrows to see how phosphorus transfers from rocks to living organisms and eventually to water bodies. Note the absence of atmospheric components and how this affects the cycle's overall movement and availability of phosphorus in ecosystems. The sulfur cycle involves both natural and human-influenced processes. Naturally, sulfur moves through organic matter, soil, and water. Volcanic activity releases sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. Human activities, particularly fossil fuel combustion, have significantly altered this cycle, leading to acid rain. Understanding this cycle is crucial for addressing environmental issues like air pollution and acid precipitation. In this diagram, we can trace sulfur's path through various environmental compartments. Notice how both natural processes like volcanic emissions and human activities contribute to the cycle. The illustration shows how sulfur moves through the atmosphere, living organisms, and back to the Earth's surface, highlighting the complex interactions between different Earth systems. The water, or hydrologic, cycle is fundamental to life on Earth. This continuous cycle begins with evaporation of water from oceans and other water bodies, driven by solar energy. Plants contribute through transpiration, releasing water vapor into the air. As water vapor rises and cools, it condenses to form clouds. Eventually, precipitation returns water to Earth, where it either infiltrates the ground or runs off into water bodies. This cycle is crucial for distributing fresh water across the planet and regulating global climate patterns. This visual representation shows the complete journey of water through Earth systems. Follow the arrows to see how water moves from oceans to atmosphere, then back to Earth through precipitation. Note the various pathways water can take once it reaches the Earth's surface, including groundwater infiltration, surface runoff, and uptake by plants. Biodiversity encompasses the remarkable variety of life on Earth, existing at multiple levels. It includes genetic diversity within species, species diversity within ecosystems, and ecosystem diversity across landscapes. This rich tapestry of life isn't just beautiful, it's essential for maintaining ecological stability, ensuring ecosystem resilience, and providing crucial services like pollination, nutrient cycling, and climate regulation. Think of biodiversity as Earth's insurance policy against environmental changes. The Earth's biodiversity is organized into distinct biogeographical regions, each shaped by unique combinations of climate, topography, and evolutionary history. From the Palearctic region covering Eurasia and northern Africa to the Australian region with its unique marsupials, each zone has its distinctive flora and fauna. India, situated primarily in the Oriental region, benefits from this strategic location, contributing to its exceptional biodiversity. India's status as one of the world's 17 megadiverse countries is no accident. This distinction comes from housing an extraordinary 7 to 8% of all recorded species globally. This richness stems from India's diverse geography, from the towering Himalayas to tropical coastlines, varied climatic conditions, and long-standing cultural practices that have historically protected nature. The presence of 4 biodiversity hotspots, the Western Ghats, Eastern Himalayas, Indo-Burma, and Sundaland, makes India a crucial center for global biodiversity conservation. India's wildlife faces significant challenges, with many species now endangered. The majestic Bengal tiger, the largest of all tiger subspecies, continues to battle against poaching and habitat loss. The Indian elephant, a keystone species, struggles with human-wildlife conflict and diminishing habitats. The elusive snow leopard, adapted to high-altitude environments, faces threats from habitat fragmentation and poaching. These species represent just a fraction of India's endangered wildlife, highlighting the urgent need for conservation efforts. Endemic species, found nowhere else in the world, are living treasures of India's biodiversity. The lion-tailed macaque, with its distinctive appearance, is specially adapted to life in the Western Ghats. The Nilgiri tahr, a mountain goat found only in parts of southern India, and the Indian gharial, a unique crocodilian restricted to specific river systems, represent the unique evolutionary heritage of the Indian subcontinent. The threats to biodiversity are numerous and intensifying. Habitat loss through deforestation and urbanization continues to shrink natural spaces. Climate change is altering ecosystems faster than many species can adapt. Pollution, particularly plastic and chemical contamination, degrade habitats. Invasive species disrupt local ecosystems, while overexploitation of resources pushes many species toward extinction. Understanding these threats is crucial for developing effective conservation strategies. Conservation efforts employ both in situ and ex situ approaches. In situ conservation protects species in their natural habitats through national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. Ex situ conservation includes zoos, botanical gardens, and seed banks that preserve species outside their natural habitats. India's flagship conservation programs, like Project Tiger and Project Elephant, demonstrate the country's commitment to protecting its biological heritage. The intersection of biodiversity and commerce raises important ethical and legal issues. Bioprospecting involves searching for commercially valuable compounds in biological resources. However, this can lead to biopiracy, the unauthorized exploitation of indigenous knowledge and biological resources. India has experienced this firsthand with cases involving neem and turmeric patents. The Biological Diversity Act of 2002 now helps regulate these activities and protect India's biological resources. Thank you for joining part 2 of our environmental studies series. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tutorials on other exciting topics.